Okay, welcome to this webinar, this masterclass, which is part of our continuing VIP influential webinar series. And this particular class is called the Customer Maker, Designing Compelling Offers for Your Audience. And again, it's really great to have you all here. It's a topic that's near and dear to my heart, and I look forward to sharing this with you. I'll introduce myself a little bit more as I go along, along with my compatriot Bill Blue, who may be listening in on this call, and he's working remotely today. And let's get going here. So before we start, though, one logistical point, which I think is very critical, especially those of you who are looking at focusing more on your day-to-day work. What I would invite you to do is for the next hour, hour and a half or so while we're doing this masterclass, is to turn off anything that is operating in the background, including Skype, email, iTunes, or any other programs that might interrupt you. My invitation is to use this time for yourself now, to use this time to strategize for your own future in your business, for yourself, for your projects. And so that might include, silencing your phone, closing the door, giving yourself the gift of your time to discover the secrets that could help you fulfill and dreams and goals for yourself in the future. All right. So a couple of things here, a couple of questions I want to pose to you as an audience. These are rhetorical questions for yourself to consider. They're designed to help you think through what's really going to make a difference for you, especially pertaining to this webinar, but also in the future for yourself. So does this sound like you? Why is this something that you keep saying to yourself, perhaps? Why are people taking so long to decide to buy from you? Are you tired of going through the ups and downs of success in your marketing? Is it difficult or challenging to sell to your current customers? Now, I know some of you may be in different positions in your company right now. Some of you may be doing really well. Some of you may be starting out. Some of you are in the midterm of your business. So some of these questions may be pertinent to you. Some may not be. But my invitation is to really start looking at these questions for yourself. Is it difficult or challenging to sell to your current customers? How so? How is it difficult or challenging for you? Where are the obstacles precisely for you? If you're already doing good, how can you improve? Are you disenchanted with the results you're currently having in your sales conversions to customers? Have you been in business for a while, but the business, marketing, and sales is just not quite where it could be or where it should be for yourself? Are you happy with your profits and your results? Is there more you can do? Are you getting burnt out or not excited about the systems of marketing you have now? Are you paying too much to acquire customers? Are you measuring that, and do you know how much you're paying for each customer or a different type of customer? What has stopped you in the past, or what do you think will stop you in the future as you move along in your business? And the question for you is, what do you want this year to be like for yourself in your business, for yourself personally, if you're running a business, and also for the business and for the people who are working for you? Do you want it to be better, not just in terms of more money, but all of the other things in life that matter to you, like your family, the time for yourself, your art that you do? You're in the right place today in this webinar, in this masterclass, if you want to create a sustainable and proven business that more than validates your services, products, leadership, and abilities. I know some of you know that you're competent and more than competent, but you're aware that your ambitions are far exceeding your current results. And it's time for you. This may be your year to really close that gap. And this year could be the year that makes the biggest difference. You're in the right place today if you're spending too much time spinning your wheels in your marketing and business and seriously wish to make a change. And you're certainly in the right place if you wish to sell more. You're also in the right place if you're sick and tired of being overwhelmed. And you're in the right place for some of you. I know you're starting out in your business. I know some of you have talked to me about this. And, there's a difference between avoidable mistakes and unavoidable mistakes. The unavoidable mistakes, are the things that are unpredictable. But there are some things that are predictable that you know about in your business. And, if we can avoid those mistakes and start in launching your company or a new program, then you're certainly in the right place today. You're certainly in the right place if you want a highly engaged and inspired audience that's going to buy from you. And this is probably the most important thing for me and for a lot of my clients that I've worked with is having more satisfying results and a lifestyle that reflects that as well. After all, what's the point of being an entrepreneur if you continue being a slave to your job or to your work? It doesn't make any sense. Just this morning, my wife and I had a pleasant drive, and we took our time driving along the West Cliff here in Santa Cruz, East Cliff too. And, it's just a nice little drive, and, getting the opportunity to do so is a simple thing sometimes, just connecting with the people that you love, spending time, high quality time in a foggy Santa Cruz morning, right by the beach. It's just priceless. It's those things you can't really put a price on. But having more time and the bandwidth in financially and mentally and in terms of your systems that you produce in your companies is what's going to give you the lifestyle. But the reality really is that there are three fears for most people. And, one fear is that you will fail to sell because you're not good at it, or there's a gap in your sales ability. The second fear is my customers will hate my sales strategies and tactics. Some of you have come to me with concerns about that and what you've been told and how you should do your sales and your marketing strategies, both online and offline. The third fear is I'll never figure out what my customers really want. And so the question for you is, what about you? What are your concerns? What are your challenges? What are your objectives? Where do you want to be? So there are a couple of things we're going to learn today, and there are 4 specific things I'm looking at teaching. The first is steps to creating win-win offers that leave your customers clear and intrigued. The second is avoiding common mistakes people make in designing offers that leave your sales weak. And the third is how to sell and be happy with little or no stress. And the fourth one is how to make sure that you follow through on this process to success. These are the 4 things that we'll be covering here on this call. There's a special offer gift at the end of our webinar today. The invitation is to stay right through to the end. Some of you who are my clients already, you're probably experiencing some of these gifts already. But those of you who are here new, I invite you to stay right through the end because I think you're going to enjoy the gift at the end. I'm sharing a couple of our recent breakthroughs now on this next slide. And the reason I'm sharing is twofold. Obviously, I want to build credibility for myself and my business partner, Bill Blue, in terms of what we can provide for you. But the second thing is to really show you and demonstrate to you very clearly that these results are a direct derivative of the things I'm going to teach to you today. So what I'm teaching actually really works if you use it. If you don't use it, well, or if it's not customized to you, then it may not work. Customization is very important to do, as well as consistency in application. But these are some of our recent breakthroughs. Our meetup size combined now is about 18,286. Those of you who have been following our webinar series will note the increase from last time. Rolodex is now more than 26,000. And by the way, these are not updated figures. I know Bill gave me these a couple of days ago, so I know we probably exceeded these quite a bit. We have a Twitter group following of more than 50,000 followers. At our last launch, we had a full group of clients in a short period of time. And we made more than $100,000 in a 6-week period. Bill Bellew on his website is getting about 90 million hits. On a future webinar, I'm going to have him explain and do case studies on how we actually made this happen for himself and for other people as well. We just got a large company contract for potentially about $20K per month. It's modest growth for some of you, but it's certainly comes from a lot of work that we did. And again, it's pretty decent, given the kind of work we've been doing for the last year and a half, me and Bill together. Current launch that we're doing right now, we're already filling up with clients. In our last batch, at least 3 of our clients, we have a very small group of clients that we took on for this special program we're doing. But at least 3 of our clients are already doubling traffic. We're actually promising that breakthroughs in traffic to the sites occurs within a couple of months, but within a few months, we're already seeing some outstanding results for some of our clients. A client last week had a waiting list for a meetup event, which is quite a substantial event for investors. And without revealing too much data on her business, it's a very highly specialized market. So it's very rare that meetups in that arena get sold out, but I think she's already sold out and sold out twice. Her second event is also beginning to sell out as well. One new client just more than made her money back, and just recently made more than her money back in our coaching program. And our network is growing organically. And the important thing is that we're getting people in our relevant target market. What does this do? This provides actually less stress time for us. I call it stress time. Stress time is where you're working doubly hard trying to get people in the door and not really getting much results. So we're getting a lot more return on investment in our time from the things that we've been accumulating, doing in the last couple of months or so. And some of these are some of the things I'll share with you in this class. It wasn't all great when we first started out. Some people are laughing, I'm sure, right now as they see this photograph of me taken in about 1991. At that time, I'd already started working for a while in my engineering company, but I was looking at making more money in a sideline business that I started, which was about software consulting. And I can tell you that time, creating compelling offers was not my strength. And certainly did not have the sales or marketing mindset or practices to get me to success, the kind of success I was looking for. And sales was not joyful for me. You know, it was a lot of work because I was going to a lot of, I was ambitious and I was very hardworking. I still am, but I was certainly working very hard. And a lot of my sales conversations were about proving the competence of what I provided as services and approving value rather than building trust and building a sales funnel that made more sense in how to build trust first rather than demonstrating that I can actually do what I can do. I mean, demonstrating what you can do is certainly important, but people really typically buy on the basis of trust. And it's something that I really didn't quite know how to deal with at that point, but I learned fairly quickly because one of the first things I did was hire my first mentor and coach at that time. It's probably the best thing I ever did. And like a lot of other people, you know, I was trepidatious about doing this because it was quite a sizable investment. I mean, what he charged me was about $1,000 a month. And he didn't work with everybody. I had to convince him that he needed to work with me. It was persistence that paid off with him. But one of the first things that he did with me was to help me craft my offers. He was a very smart, very conservative gentleman. And it was quite a stark contrast to a lot of other coaches I was seeing at that point who were very ambitious and very good probably, but didn't quite make sense in my world in terms of the conservative people I was trying to get as customers. So one of the first things he had me do was to create offers and packages that would make sense to my market. Really big step to do. And it took a bit of work, but it was worth the work to do. The second was to learn what was compelling to say and what was not compelling to say. You know, and we'll talk a little bit more about this in the class, but this is an important distinction that I see. You know, a lot of people come and talk to me and do one-on-ones with me, or come to me my meetups or my events, my speaking events sometimes. And, you know, they're trying to sell to me, and I appreciate that. But they don't realize that I'm really being polite in listening to them, which I do. But I'm not at all interested. I'm not finding anything compelling in what they're saying. So it's very important to learn the distinction between what is compelling to say and what is not compelling to say. And I can't overemphasize this because I see even people who are in tech startups who have been in business for a while making the same mistakes. You know, they're not aware of how they're unselling rather than selling their company and themselves. How to sell without convincing. Touched on this a little bit in my introduction, but this we're going to talk a little bit more as we go along as well. And I'll do my best to give you what I can on this call within the hour and 15, hour and a half that we have. First breakthrough, this is a picture of me when I actually kind of retired back in 1996. It was originally going to be a 3-month break, but it turned into a year and a half. And but the important thing I want to share here is not so much my taking a break, but really what I learned. And the first thing was that in deciphering a target market to go after, it's probably a good idea for most of you, may not be for all of you. And in talking with you, I'll probably discover more, but certainly for most of you, finding a good target market and focusing on the right target market, the ones that you're most passionate about, probably would make sense. And passion comes from a root word of passion is passion. It means the willingness to suffer intensively for a short period of time for something worthwhile in the long term. And this is important to do because when you're in business, as most of you probably realize, there are going to be ups and downs. There are going to be breakdowns. They're going to be trying a lot of things that should make sense and should work, and it doesn't. And we have to keep, looking and inquiring and testing out the market, doing smart experiments before you hit in the right combination. But it's important to have the right passion for that market, whatever market you're going after. It's also important to decipher what the right pain points are in that market so you don't waste time talking to people about things that don't really matter. The third thing is, again, to find the right target markets that you wish to focus on. Sometimes logically, you might say this is the right target market, but you may not have the passion to go after it. And even the best of us need that passion for ourselves and for our teams. If your team detects that you're not passionate about the market, then it may be difficult for them to pursue that market as well. Then the next step is to have the right offers. If you craft the right offers, then your sales cycles tend to go down, tend to make more money with far less stress, and it becomes a lot easier. And the other thing is you have more clients who are probably going to work with you for a longer time. So one of my clients has a software company, and his mission is that our customers are satisfied. It's very simple mission. Does a great job at it. When he goes out and makes the right offers, he tries to figure out what people really want. He outcompetes the bigger companies that are going after these markets. And, it's just a smarter way to do business. And when he first came to me, he was traveling about 60 to 70% of the time. Now he's traveling far less. He still travels, but his travel times are far more effective. And he gets time to do other things that he enjoys as well. So that's important to do and understand. If you have the right offer, the right target markets, the right pain points, understanding your market really well is time well spent. And once you have the right offers, then you can create the right kind of systems and the sales funnels that will direct people to you. Bill and I are of the creed where, if someone comes to you, and if they come to you rather than you do an outreach to them, chances are that you're going to have a very, very good client for a long time. So it's good to have a sales system that's based on the right offers, that has the right offers going to the right target markets with the right pain points. And if you're passionate about that right target market, you're going to have a very joyful, productive business. The second stage that we typically lead our clients to is to have a plan. A rough plan is good enough to start off with. A lot of you are perfectionists. You try to get it all perfect right time, the first time around, probably not going to happen. What works best and what my own coach did with me way back in 1991, we started out with a rough plan. There were just a few milestones every month we created, and we started going after those, and we refined the plan as we went along. The third step here, you could say, the third lesson that I learned was that in the art and science of focusing. And this took some practice on a day-to-day basis. My coach worked with me on a daily basis. And there are two things that we did. One was we looked at the plan to make sure that it was making sense almost on a daily basis. Almost every day we looked at that plan. Are we still on track for the month? Does this make sense? Is this something we're enjoying doing? Is it putting money in our pocket? Are we gaining traction? Does that traction prove something in terms of the viability of our plan longer term? Or do we not have enough data? Should we go after more data? So what this tended to do is two things. It gave us more confidence. And I said us because my coach and I really acted like a partnership. He really took my business seriously with me. I really felt like I had a business partner with me because we were really seriously looking at all these important questions on a day-to-day basis. The second thing it did was started giving me confidence and less stress. Confidence and stress tend to go hand in hand in an inverse relationship. The more confident you are, the less stress you tend to have. More stress you have, the less confident you are. So part of the game every day was to make sure I was on track. The fourth lesson was to mitigate risk versus return on investment, both in terms of time and money investment. A lot of you may be good in the money side, but you may be weak on the time side because you're spinning your wheels trying to determine what you want to focus on every day. And in our programs, we try to work with you on an email basis so that, and we do a lot of high touch so that you can assess the risk versus return on investment on the things that you're selecting to do for the day and for the week. Because, if you're wasting time, but some of you, your hourly rate may not be just $500 an hour. Truthfully, maybe more like $1,500 to $2,000 an hour. Because you don't really want to work 20, 30 hours necessarily every week. So your hours per year may be pretty low. And based on how much you want to make, every hour may really count a lot more than you think. So your assessment of what you're going to spend in the next hour should be very carefully considered. And the more practice you have in that, the more likely you are to stay on track. This last lesson sounds kind of pithy, maybe almost like pedantic, but it's probably the most important lesson. And that is that a breakthrough, a long-term or even a medium-term breakthrough comes with consistent application. It almost never comes overnight. It never comes because you think you thought through something already, or you decided how you're going to do things, or you learned something on a webinar and you're going to apply it, try to apply it first. It really is the need for consistent application, reviewing stuff on a daily basis that really leads to breakthroughs. And this pertains to your team as well as to yourself. I want to put that in, for those of you who have teams. You got to work and nurture your team on a day-to-day basis, and that's important to do. So this is a shot of me in 1996. I look a lot younger, you could say. Again, I was planning on just spending about a couple of days in Maui, but it ended up to be, I think, about 3 weeks or 4 weeks that I ended up spending there, driving around, enjoying myself. And this is the reward that I got for what I call short-term suffering. A lot of us tend to prefer long-term suffering with short spurts of joy. And what I advocate is the reverse. Some of you short-term suffering may be a year. 1995 was a kind of difficult, challenging year because I was balancing doing consulting work with doing my business, and which grew to be what really led to my retirement that time. And but it was a short-term suffering. But it was quite a lot of work that I put in. I wouldn't advocate working the way I was doing it, but at some of you, you'll have to make the decision, where am I going to really focus? What is the short-term suffering I need to do? What's the kind of research I might need to do in the short term so I can really build the foundation for my business well, so that my second, third, fourth, and fifth years can be really outstanding. A lot of my clients, I'm excited for what they're going to create this year, but truthfully, next year, the second, third years are usually the sweetest years. That's when you see real outstanding breakthrough stuff that we never even figured could happen because we laid the foundation for it. It's not like, woo-woo. It's just a lot of really sound business science. And that foundation includes your habits, includes your strategies and tactics that you want to put in as well. And if you chunk it down, over a certain period of time, then things are not that overwhelming. It can be done. These are, again, a couple of client testimonials. And again, I'm sharing this for two reasons. One is obviously to build credibility for Bill and I, but also, secondly, to share some of the lessons that were learned. This is one of my clients, Eric Hess. We started many years ago, but in the first 2 years, his company had a 150% increase in size, both in terms of team as well as profits. The primary lesson that was learned here was aligning the vision and goals. And what do I mean by this? When they first came to me, they had a great vision that they almost never talked about. It was a spiritual vision for their company. They were very religiously inclined. I'm not particularly religiously inclined, but what I did was I listened to what they said, and I noticed that some of their vision was not being expressed in their goals. So they had this vision that was going in one direction, but their goals were really boring to them. They were going for it, but it was a lot of work. And sometimes life is like that, but for them it was particularly difficult. So what we did was we created a vision that they got excited about and they were clearly excited about. But they also created goals that really lit them up and were aligned with their vision. By lit them up, I mean they were excited about it, genuinely excited about it. And so their goal was actually to save 1 million lives at that time. It's been changed over the years, but they had a renewed vigor and excitement in their entire team because they saw now what was missing for them, that their vision and goals just had to be aligned. This is a second testimonial from Charlotte Jacobs. Some of you may know her because she's very well known in the coaching circles. And when she first came to me, she was really struggling. And what I promised with her, after looking at some of her data, I saw that within Integrity, I could really promise her within 90 days to triple her income. And we did just exactly that. And she took those lessons and she actually teaches her own clients doing a lot of what I taught her to do. And today she impacts tens of thousands of people. Her events are sold out every month. And the lesson that she learned was to cut down objectives to focus, because a lot of people I know out there tend to come at me with a lot of objectives. There are just too many objectives. They're spread thin. Even with a team, they're spread thin, very thin. And one of the best pieces of advice I got way back in 1991 was from a very well-known entrepreneur at that time. And he said, Sunil, one of the most important things is to focus. Cut down your objectives and focus on fewer things so you can get higher quality outcomes in your sales and in your marketing. It's probably one of the best pieces of advice I ever got. And definitely with Charlotte, we made that happen for her. Archana is a third entrepreneur that I worked with here. And this is actually a recent testimonial she sent to me. The main thing for a lot of you starting out is to decipher and wade through all the complexity, because there's a lot of complexity in business, whether you're starting a new business or in the midterm of a new business or a new set of projects. And so a lot of work was done with Archana to listen to what she had in mind, because she had a lot of good ideas. It's just that the people and the strategists and the mentors she worked with before didn't quite listen very cleanly and clearly and keenly to what she was trying to express. So I put together what she wanted to get done and made it more concrete for her. And, she's never spent a lot of money on expensive advertising. You'll see in her testimonial. And, what she decided to spend more money on was actually working with me, which, makes sense a lot of the times, not all the time, but, working with me was what helped her save a lot of money and do her marketing in a lot more organic manner. We looked to see where her target markets really were. And it made all the difference to focus there and spend a bit more time. For some of my clients, sometimes we take a month out and we'll do retreats and we'll really look at, inexpensive retreats where we look at where their target markets really are. Where's the passion? Where's the traction being experienced? Can we leverage off that? Then we look at newer markets. Where can we take this company in 3 years from now, 5 years from now? Where can we pivot so it makes more sense? And it makes more sense, particularly to the business owners, so that they can spend less time doing the operations and more time on the innovative strategies that need and are required for your company to exist in a longer term. So we spend again a lot of time planning and creating the right packages for the right markets for Archana. The greatest relevant breakthrough, I'm sharing this with you. Everything I'm sharing with you, I promise you, is relevant. It's building up to a lot more of the content we're going to present to you pretty quickly here. But the greatest relevant breakthrough for me is, for those of you in front of a computer right now, is really my calendar. And it's not so much my calendar itself, but really what the calendar represents, which is a lot more meaning that I put to my time. If you look at the calendar right now, there's actually a couple of things some of you may be noticing. There's a lot more free time, and there are blocks of free time that I can dedicate to projects or taking some time off and walking down the pleasant cliffs of Santa Cruz here right by the ocean, enjoying myself deep, breathing in some deep, fresh air, and allowing the creative juices to flow. I also have a lot of more time with my wife, and and a lot of times, frankly, I like to work in this free time. But it's important to create this kind of calendar, have the intention to create this kind of calendar. Because again, you're not going to get innovative ideas working all the time. Innovation comes from that free time where you let your mind wander, and you create better results. So this is the greatest relevant breakthrough for me. And, it gives me the space and the time to do all the things I love to do. If you're looking at the computer again, these are the results, the photographs represent some of the things that I love to do with my community. And I have an opportunity to work with my Congressman Sam Farr. We do a lot of great work together for alleviating poverty and hunger in the world, something I'm really near and dear to my heart. You may not have that for yourself, but you may have other things that you want to do with your grandkids or kids, your current kids, and you want to have more time for yourself. This is one of these photographs. It's actually a photograph of what I see a couple of feet from my house as I walk through the cliffs, Santa Cruz. It's a lovely sunset. These are the precious times that I have. These are the things that you want to work towards, or I invite you towards working towards, if you're not so already. And the question for you is, what is your greatest relevant breakthrough? Why am I asking this? Because in the work that you're going to do and apply for the next year for yourself, some of the tools that I'm going to share with you here, you really want to make sure that it's worth your time to do. Because I don't want to share stuff with you that, it's going to be nice to hear, and then you share about it at parties, but you don't necessarily apply it for yourself. You want to have a good enough reason for yourself. Some people call it the big why, or the big what. What's so big deal about my business? What is the business going to provide for me that's going to make all this worthwhile? So these are the steps in creating win-win offers that leave you and your customers clear and intrigued. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to enter them into the Q&A box or the chat box at the top or in your navigation menu. A couple of advantages of this approach that I'm about to share. One is it gives you long-term sustainability in your company. You're always able to upgrade customers. What do I mean by this? Because if you have a longer-term view, you're not just going to provide one or two or three services. You're going to look at the longer term of where this client could go and what you could upgrade and what you could provide for them once they've satisfied their primary pain points. So if they buy something from you, you want to be able to line up other things in the future so you can continue servicing them and making more money and having more satisfaction, both for yourself and for your clients as well. The second advantage is you're going to decide what you want to give away for free, because nowadays, even for those of you who have very sophisticated products, what works online or what tends to work online in terms of online marketing is to give away some stuff for free. It could be free reports, could be free white papers, it could be free apps, could be stuff that gets people engaged. That's low currency, what I call low currency or very low investment for you to provide. So it doesn't cost you too much to provide, but it gets people engaged. And it's important to get people engaged right away. Some of them may not just really want to buy from you right away. So you have to decide what you want to give away for free and what you want to charge people for later on. Some of you, this may be very clear. For a lot of you, this may not be clear, and I invite you to really look. And the advantage of the approach I'm going to share is going to give you an opportunity to look at this question very seriously. You don't want to give away everything for a very low price point. So it may not make any sense. So the first step we tend to do with a lot of our clients is to help them research their market. This is both online as well as offline research. Now, I realize some of you may have very different kinds of industries, different kinds of markets, but what we advocate is doing two kinds of research. Sometimes what we do for some of you is to help you identify 10 best guesses for your target markets. And we try to delineate your target markets, based on demographic factors like salary, age, etc. But we try to make a guess as to the 10 best markets, and then we do some online and offline research. What do I mean by this? We tend to focus more on online because it's a little less expensive to do so on your time as well as in your money. And we try to find the best, maybe 4 markets after that online market research. And what we look at is what are the pain points that they're describing online? What do they share about? What do they talk about that's some of their primary challenges? What are some of the obvious challenges they're dealing with? And, surprising what you can find online these days just by looking at someone's site, looking at how much traffic they're getting, for example. What are the things that they're describing? What do they share about in their blogs, etc. And the second stage, we look at doing more interviews with some of your market once you whittle down your target market selection. And that's usually some of the most valuable information you can get. I'm consistently surprised, even in my own business, when I do interviews with my clients and my customers and my previous customers and my prospects, learn a lot about what they're looking for. And this helps me guide my market positioning in terms of what I want to offer, what kind of offers I want to package, how I message the offers. And that's very critical because you want to get this kind of languaging for the pain points from your target markets from the horse's mouth. What do I mean by that? You want to hear it in their languaging and how they describe it, because you don't want to use your own jargon. They may not appreciate your jargon, and they may not appreciate how you're wording it, and they won't tell you because it just won't land for them. So you gotta, when you do interviews, you actually, as you talk more to them, you actually start noticing how they word certain things, and as opposed to how you word certain things that you like to describe in your marketing. So it's really critical and really, really well worth your time to do research on your market. The second is, why do we do the research? Well, one of the reasons is we look for the pain points that we may have missed. So a lot of times, when you see me doing the research, you'll see me slapping my forehead. It's like a duh, I should have seen this before. So I slap my forehead, I go, duh. Most insights are not ahas. They're more like duhs. I kind of knew this already, but I'm not using it in my marketing. Why am I not doing that? Duh. So you want to analyze for the pain points. I almost guarantee you, almost every client we've had, when they do the market research, they go, yeah, I knew this before. My wife's been even telling me about it, but I failed to act on it. So really you want to analyze for the pain points. And the pain points, again, if you get the languaging behind the pain points, it'll make your marketing a lot more compelling and have more people come to you per unit time. This helps also create offers that clearly help solve these pain points. Again, sometimes it's the languaging. You may have the right pain point, but if you don't have the right language for it, then you're not going to make it compelling. And this is where people like me come in, where I can have a second set of eyes to your languaging on your marketing and your offers, and when you actually do one-on-ones even with some of your higher level clients. So, you want to make sure that your pain points can be packaged in a way that address different price points. So you may have maybe 2-3 different price points in your market. And for the lower price points, you want to make sure you hit sufficient pain points, and the same thing for your higher price points. But you don't want to give away everything on your lower price points, obviously. But you want to make sure you give sufficiently so that it addresses the pain points adequately. So your lower price points may address maybe 1 or 2 pain points. Your second medium price point, higher price point, may address a little bit more of the pain points. And of course, your highest price point, if you're doing a premium kind of business, premium offer kind of business, then your highest price point will have a lot more to offer, and it resolves more of the pain points. So there should be a correlation between what you're addressing in pain points and your price points of what you're offering to your market. And that will train your market to understand that, okay, if I really want to address all my pain points, I may have to pay a little bit more. But you know what? It probably makes more sense to do so. So you want to be able to create a narrative like that in your marketing. But again, it's important to really do the market research upfront so you understand these pain points clearly. And again, sometimes it's having that second added pair of eyes that helps you see, what your blind spots are in terms of understanding your own market. So that's why I have my own coaches who look at this. They look at the data, they look at my opt-in rates online and offline, so that I'm not fooling myself. And that's very important to start creating. If you don't have a system to measure, who's converting at various stages in your sales funnel, then that may be something else to look at. So when you create these offers, you can actually look at the data, see if they're working for you, and then make adjustments to your offer as you go along. Another point here is and I list this as a step, but it's really a distinction. And I'm surprised that even doctors that I work with in medical offices, combined medical offices, they tend to give away a lot of stuff that they shouldn't be giving away for free or for lower price points, because it's just too much work. And they're not, when you're overworking your team or yourself and you're not getting paid adequately, that could lead to a lot of pain. I once worked with an attorney who was offering bankruptcy services, bankruptcy legal services. And I found that, he was a person who loved his market. He was very passionate about his market, but he was giving away too much. And it ended up with him spending way too much time. His wife and his team were spending too much time on certain clients. And it wasn't really paying him enough. And it led to a lot of burnout psychologically for himself. So you don't want to give away everything in one offer. You want to pace yourself, and make sure that you have clear offers that offer more as people pay more. This is another mistake that people make, and it's similar, but it's giving away stuff for free to the point where people don't see value in your product. I said produce here. That's a spelling error. I apologize. It's actually your product or your services. Okay, so you don't want to give away stuff for free to the point where people don't see the value in what you provide. Another mistake is to sell on the basis of, the mistake is actually selling on the basis of your process instead of your pain points. You want to sell on the basis of your pain points, not your process. So a lot of people will talk about how they provide their services. Especially tech firms out there, they'll talk a lot about their delivery of their products and their services, but they won't talk about why these products and services will help the prospect resolve their primary pain points. See, sometimes the prospect is not even aware of the pain points. You want to be aware of their pain points so you're clear that whatever you provide is going to help them solve this problem. And like I said, a lot of times your customer is not clear. Your job is to get them clear what their pain points are so that they know what they're buying is not just a process, but an alleviation of stress and a pathway to resolving their ambitions, goals, and dreams in their own company. That's what's at stake. That's what's more engaging and more interesting for people to buy, is a pathway to their dreams rather than a process that goes in 5 steps and takes 20 people to execute in 17.5 hours. Most people don't care about that. They care about it to a certain extent. Of course they do, but it's not the priority. What sells mostly is trust, some level of emotion in their decision, and of course, the primary pain points being alleviated, and to a certain degree, reassurance that your process is going to work. But it's really, for the majority of people, a majority of cases, you want to sell on the basis of pain points being alleviated. Another mistake here is building only for the short term instead of the long term. What I mean by this is most sales strategy is done on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month basis. Oh, we got this client, so we got to go after them. Okay, let's go after them, right? But you forget about planning for the future so you can get more juicy clients like that. So when things go dry, you have a system that's continually attracting people of that caliber to come in as prospects and eventually clients. So, you want to start looking at the long term rather than the short term. And part of looking at the long term is spending some time reviewing your offers to make sure that they make sense and they're doing the research that it takes to build the kind of offers that make sense. The other mistake that I see when people offer do their offerings is that it's very complicated and has a lot of data involved. Sometimes their pricing sheets and their option sheets are like 3 or 4 pages long, sometimes even longer. I had a financial planning firm. They had me go on their one-on-ones. They were doing really well, but they said it was a typically long sales cycles, especially with younger, richer millennials, which didn't quite make sense to me. Those people tend to make a little faster decisions. And so in looking at the sales process, I noticed that a lot of time was spent in their one-on-ones explaining in utter detail. Those meetings would go up to 2 hours, 2.5 hours sometimes, and I would see the client completely getting frazzled, low on blood sugar, unable to decide. Every decision you make sucks up glucose. Your blood glucose level drops when you make a decision, especially a complicated one. So you got to feel for your customer. Every time he's trying to make a decision or trying to weigh a decision, he's burning up a lot of precious brain bandwidth, which is going to make it more difficult for him to decide. Usually people like that will go, well, I need more time to think about this. Sometimes that's very appropriate. But a lot of times they just burnt out because it's just too much information. So I hope that makes sense. You want to make your options very clear and concise. And with the clear pain points, the clear system that's going to help them address their pain points. Again, you want to address more of what's going to be resolved rather than how. So how to sell and be happy with little or no stress? Well, the first thing, as you might already see, is finding the right target markets. Charlotte and Jesse, Jesse's her husband. Charlotte I shared about earlier, one of my clients' testimonials. One of the things they look at when they teach their own clients is, you got to look for the right target markets, and that's what we emphasize as well. Is doing your best to find the right. Sometimes it takes a while. You're not necessarily going to do it overnight. Some of you may already think you have the right target markets, but if you look further, you might find a better one. And so, the key is really finding the right target markets that's going to feed you. The second is, how to sell and be happy. It's making the right offers that make sense and make choices clear. Already covered this quite a bit. Some of you may be familiar with, online these days. When you sign up for a software service, they'll give you a chart like you see in the computer screen right now. They give you the price right at the top. They tell you what all the main primary features are, and you can make your selection based on that. So you want to make your right offers clear. You want to make few options. You don't want to give them complicated options as best as possible. I know some of you have more complicated sales that involve this, but again, in your offerings, you want to make it very clear what level of abstraction you want to approach first. The level of abstraction I recommend is go for the pain points first before you go to the details. So how to sell, again, if you're looking at target markets, you have the right offers, then you're going to look like a lot of these entrepreneurs I'm showing right now. All these are a subset of some of my clients who I've worked with in the past. And, in my experience, leads to a lot more happiness and a lot less stress over time. Again, you can't expect this overnight. It's probably not going to happen overnight. If you have an expectation like that, you're probably leading yourself or setting yourself up for a lot of upset. The primary source of upset is when you set up unrealistic expectations and you fail to meet them. It's also the primary source of demotivation. If you keep not fulfilling your expectations, or you overpromise and you keep missing expectations, a hormone called dopamine in your brain actually literally starts going down. This is peer-reviewed science. And once that starts going down, it's very difficult to motivate yourself because dopamine is responsible for motivation and increasing and building of confidence. So you got to do the short-term work to create long-term joy, but you can't expect this overnight. Short-term may mean a couple of weeks, could mean a couple of months, it could mean a year, but it's a year that's going to save you a lot more time in the next 5 years, 10 years, and increase your satisfaction and profits. So how to sell and be happy. Again, this comes with dialogue, testing, and analysis. So the things that we do with our clients is, every day we talk with them, we email them if appropriate. We test out certain assumptions. We do smart experiments to test the market without losing your shirt. We can get some good data and find out what really works and what doesn't work. Then we look at the data and we come up with suggestions together, working in collaboration to see what makes sense in terms of actions. And it's that kind of work on a day-to-day basis that increases focus, increases confidence, and reduces stress. Again, I can't overemphasize this enough. There's no overnight sensation. It really comes with daily dialogue. And the distinction is that kind of dialogue that you want to have is the one that leads to more sanity and less insanity. So you want to have more sane conversations. You don't want to have the same conversations over and over again, especially with yourself, leading to less results and more stress. You want to have the kind of conversations that are focused with someone else who can listen and look at the data with you to see what makes sense, so you go towards change, positive change that's different. So it leads to better results, not the same results that leave you crazy. So daily dialogue is part of the game. When I first started working with my coach, that was the thing we always did. We talked almost every day. And it was that review of the plan, looking at what made sense, selecting the projects for the day and the week that really kept me on task. It was never perfect. But boy, got a lot of stuff done. Made mistakes on the way, but in reviewing it, we prevented those mistakes into turning into craziness or insanity over time. So the lesson here is really there's no overnight sensation. Take some work on a day-to-day basis to really move this forward. And when you look at your results on a day-to-day basis, it's a greater chance you're going to stay on track. So I don't know why exactly all of you showed up today, but I know some of you who have been interacting and sending me questions. I know some of you are tired of trying different marketing tactics without a clear vision, strategy, and plan, or a system to get you to where you need to go. And you're tired of being overwhelmed and feeling stuck. The third place you might be is you want to feel clear and confident about the steps you're taking daily, weekly, and monthly, making sure that they add up to something and save you time and energy for your family and community. Also, some of you deep down in your heart really know that you have the capacity and the capability to get things done. And all that may be missing is a solid customized plan and a second set of eyes, a realistic set of eyes, or a dialogue partner or coach to guide your way to success, helping you chunk it down in the way so you're not overwhelmed. And what my invitation to you is, this is your time for success in your way, in your style, with the results that you want for your time, and with a plan and system that works for you. And the obvious question is, how do I make all this work so I can get things up and running? So there are two options, that people have. One leads to long-term suffering, and the other to long-term joy. In long-term suffering, what people tend to do is, you get overwhelmed day to day. There's no complete satisfaction. You get some satisfaction from time to time. You get inconsistent results or incremental results at best. And the reason why people tolerate long-term suffering is that they have short bouts of joy from time to time. So, they may get to watch TV, or they may get a result from time to time that spurs them on, but then, they lose interest again, and it's back to long-term suffering. Long-term joy requires a little bit more focused work, requires some attention to detail. And it's the detail that really makes the difference on a day-to-day basis. But you get clarity every day. You get focus daily. And over time, that focus builds. You increase your traction. And it's that increasing an attention and traction on a day-to-day basis that leads to a breakthrough. And that breakthrough is what's sweet about having a business. And, it's something, what I call your divine right. It's your divine right as an entrepreneur to demand that out of life. If you're giving the work and the short-term suffering, you deserve long-term joy. How do you get to long-term joy? Well, you want to create a system that works for you, a system that's customized to what you need, your circumstances, your target market, your desired levels of goals. And, we have a system in our coaching program that can help you get there. But the first thing is really to define the game. Where do you want to go? How do you want to play the game? What's the score that you desire? What's the score that's going to help you say that you won the game for the year or for the next 5 years? And you have a plan to get over the hurdles that are going to get in the way. So the question for you is, what is your gap? What is the gap between where you want to be now and where you want to be in the future, and where you are now? What is that gap? And Bill, you and I are committed that you close this gap as soon as possible. For you, some of you, the biggest gap may be your fear or your concern about the future. And that may be a familiar place that stops you. It's the same kind of things that come up. What if this doesn't work? What if I fail? What if, it's the same thing I've heard before, etc. And, I faced these fears too when I first signed up for my coaching program back in 1991. It's quite a lot of money. I was only making $48,000. Here was something that was going to take up $12,000, my valuable income. And, but I recognized that it was something that I needed to do because I saw the familiar things stopping me over and over again. It was the same things over and over again. And despite trying to do it myself, I realized I needed a second, maybe even a third pair of eyes to help me see my way through. And so the only way past that familiar place I recognized was to take the dive. I had to dive in, and I looked at the program, I looked at the coaching program and made sure it made sense. And I talked to my coach first. But, the only way past that familiar place, if it's familiar to you, is really to take decisive action. And Bill and I, again, like I said, are committed you take this decisive action for yourself. Not everybody's going to take it, but I know some of you are. Those of you who are, it's going to make a difference for you if you do so. And the way to do that is to sign up for or apply for our strategy session. And the website to do that is yourvipss.com. It's a free gift you're giving to you, but you have to apply for it, okay? And you get a 1-hour session with us to ask your questions, and we'll customize it to you. The output of that session is that you're going to come up with a 1-year plan for your business for the next year. So again, you want to go to yourvipss.com. That's yourvipss.com and apply for that session. Again, your opportunity to take action. Again, what we'll cover in that session is your biggest challenges and roadblocks. We'll clarify. We'll answer some of your questions. Some of you are asking questions already, and I've got a lot of questions by email. I'm going to answer those questions in a minute or so. But you're going to address your biggest challenges and roadblocks, clarify your vision, plan, and strategy. There's no pressure to buy anything from us. The intention is to get clarity in the right direction for where you want to go. If it makes sense, we'll talk about our program, our VIP Academy program, and see if it applies to you. And again, the difference is committed action and urgency. You want to take that decisive action so that you can break out of the spell that binds you in your long-term suffering if you're going through that. So want to address some questions here. And again, like I said, I'll promise I'll get to this question. David asks, would this work for tech contracts attorney creating a subscription service for tech companies that use, okay, I'm not going to read the whole thing. Sorry, David, but yes, to answer your question in a very straightforward way, yes, this would work for you as well. And what I would suggest is sign up for or apply for that Your VIP SS, or just call me or email me directly. Probably the easiest way is just to fill out that Your VIP SS. Give me the details. We've worked with clients with subscription services. I've worked with attorneys before, fairly familiar with that field, so I can probably answer a lot of your questions there. Used to paying by the hour, handling, yeah, I understand that as well. And I understand your concern. I believe so. But fill out that form, and I'll be sure to get to you. That sounds like a very intriguing session to do with you, David. So by all means, please do that. More questions here I'm going to answer here. And let's see. And David, if you have more questions, feel free to shoot me those questions. Let's see, a similar question. Have a complicated sale, can you help? Yes, we can certainly help you with that. Complicated sales or online sales Even if they're simple or complicated, we can help you. That the reason is because we really start from what you're looking at and try to customize it to you rather than giving you a mass quantity kind of solution. So we really want to find out from you what your details are so we can help you with that. Okay, but complicated sales, yeah, we can work with you on that as well. My market is changing for me and I can see that. That's something that can help you. Yeah, again, this is a fairly common thing and it might require you doing some research, and we can guide you in how to do that research so that you can get the data within the next month or so we can refine your marketing. Sometimes it's done sooner, but I want to be conservative in my estimate. It might take a month or two in doing some of this research, but I promise you again, that time is well spent. So if your market is changing, yeah, you certainly want to look at that. And again, make sure, those of you asking these questions, you definitely want to do an application for your strategy session. Okay, help me, I can't read from my admin. I'm going to move on. Next one. My concern is more about the fears and the loss of confidence I've had in the last few years. My business is doing okay, but I still have some fear or trepidations, like you say. Can this be addressed in the strategy session? Yes, absolutely. That's usually what stops a lot of fear. A lot of people, is the fear and the loss of confidence. We've had clients who've gone through some hard times in 2008 and they're bouncing back. And a lot of it has to do with just thinking through what's going to make more sense in the new market. So if you're facing that, by all means, please, let's have a conversation. I understand that I've gone through it myself, so I feel for you. And what you want to start with is looking at both the short-term. You want to look at a short-term plan and maintain or increase your cash flow, but also look at a longer term for the medium term. A plan for the medium term as well as a longer term. Probably want to increase your accountability and also look at your offers. Like I said, looking at all of that. Usually confidence levels are restored. Stress levels tend to go down within about 3 months. So of course, I'm not guaranteeing this, but usually goes down for most of my clients within about 3 months or so. Usually goes down from what we call a level 8 to 10 stress, which is pretty high, to about 3 to 5, which is low to moderate. It's not a best stress reduction at all. Let's see, pay-per-click versus organic. I know you've talked about this in the past with Bill. Can you help us decide how to do this or make this decision in our business? Yeah, we can do that. Again, fill out details when you apply for the strategy session so we can talk about it. But yeah, some of the fundamentals that I covered over this call will apply to you because you want to look at the risk versus return on investment in pay-per-click. Sometimes it can be very risky doing pay-per-click. For those of you who don't understand, pay-per-click is paid advertising online because you're going to pay for every click. So, we talked to a client the other day and we found out there was going to be $10 per click for her particular target market. So we're still looking at it, but I'm tending towards not doing it because organic traffic generation is far way better of a solution, and less expensive. But again, it varies from person to person. We understand that, and we'd be happy to talk to you in a strategy session. Make sure you apply for it by going to yourvipss.com. I have time management issues. This is a question we get asked a lot, and it's very normal. A lot of people deal with it. And again, time management issues are usually nothing to do with time management. They have to do with your focus, where you're focusing, what kind of markets you're having. Are they wasting your time? You might have to look at your target markets rather than the time management. But you will also work with your time management so that you can actually get better time management. And again, 3 months is usually where people can shift their habits so they get better time management, irrespective of the target marketing that you have to do in conjunction with that. Okay. How long is the strategy? It's about 1 hour. If you want to plan 1 hour over the phone, it could be face-to-face, depending on my schedule, etc. But it's typically done over the phone or by Skype. Okay. I'll come back to that later. How much time is involved in the VIP program? I assume you mean on a weekly basis. This varies, but typically not much. Surprisingly, if you're focused enough, it's probably going to save you a lot of time. Now, some things are going to be things, actually, almost all the things that we do are things you got to do anyway. They're things that are going to get you to the long term. So in the short term, there may be a little bit more time. That may be, again, it varies, maybe in 9 hours of marketing time a week. Again, it depends, right? For some people, maybe 3 hours. We'll have to look and see based on what you tell us in the strategy session to see, give you a little better guess on that. But I promise you all, I can stand by this promise because I've been doing this for 25 years. The things we're going to give you are probably going to save you time and probably things you need to do pretty quickly, because I don't like wasting people's time. I want to get them to where they want to be as quickly as possible. Some things may involve more time. But like I said, we do daily email interaction. Those don't take a lot of time. It should be done within 5 to 10 minutes. They shouldn't take longer than that. And when we talk and all that, we'll explain the program to you if you're interested in it. Sounds like you are, and we'll let you tell what your time frames are going to look like. Okay. Can you review my current offers and my packages during the strategy session? Yes, by all means. Again, make sure you put some detail when you apply for the strategy session so we can talk about that. But yeah, we'll review your offers and we're happy to do that and give you an assessment of what needs to be done further. Okay, if need be. Some of your offers may be perfect the way they are, for at least for now. So yeah, definitely let us know. And again, give us more details on your strategy form when you apply for it. Yeah, I'm stuck in a lot of short-term thinking. Probably have some bad habits. What's the process, I guess, to break free? Okay. Yeah, you're right on the money. A lot of it has to do with shifting your habits. That's why we like to work with people on a daily basis. And I know some of you are new clients. You may not have started on the daily emails yet, but you want to start doing that with me, because that's where you build the habits. And these are habits of focus, where you're selecting things that make more sense to do over the day and discarding things that don't make sense. And if you develop that habit, then you can also train your team over time to do the same thing. Because there's nothing worse than having more money than building a team that keeps doing bad habits, and then now you're wasting way more money paying for a team that's not doing as much as they could. Okay, that's all the questions I had so far. Oh, going back to the other question. This is not a business-related question, but where was the photo of you taken in front of the fountain? Yeah, that photo was taken in front of the Trevi Fountain in Rome. So thank you for asking. So again, thank you for all the questions. And again, if you're looking to apply for the Your VIP SS, it's probably the best way to really alleviate some of the fears and concerns. If you're looking at having a breakthrough in confidence, that 1 hour alone could really make a huge difference for you. So I encourage you to do the session by applying for it at yourvipss.com. And we'll talk about a 1-year plan to up-level your market audience and get you to where you need to be. And I look forward to doing that session for it, but make sure you apply there. And this will be for a limited time. I'm already filled up for next week in terms of sessions, and I believe for the week after and the week after that, it's already filling up in terms of my time availabilities. And without driving my wife crazy, I can't take any more time. So I really want to, I don't drive my wife crazy, but I do want to spend time with her, and I don't want to compromise that time. But I do have time slots available for the following week. Like I said, the sooner you apply, the sooner you can get on my calendar and we can talk. So make sure you do that to avoid disappointment, yourvipss.com. Like I said, your biggest concern may be the fear and the confidence level that you want to increase. So let not another day go by. The moment you apply for the Your VIP's SS and write down and start formulating your thinking as you apply for the session itself, could be a breakthrough for you, because you'll start thinking about where you need to be. So my invitation for those of you, and I know some of you have reached out to me, and I feel for you because I've been there before myself. The solution may be to apply for the session and do that as soon as possible so you can get going and feel like you're in action. So I, uh, I thank you for the opportunity to really present this information. And my mission in life is to increase innovation, creativity, and possibility for entrepreneurs like you. So thank you for the opportunity to do so. I look forward to interacting with you in the future. Thank you for all the questions that you've emailed me. And again, I look forward to seeing you in the future in a future session and a strategy session. And thank you and have a wonderful day.